So I'm Hloni Coleman. I make videos for a living. It's kind of ridiculous that I get to do that. I've gotten to travel the world because of it. I'm irritatingly young, and yeah, was very, very blessed to literally fall into this and fall into it as a way of just sharing my memories and sharing the content around me. And I definitely will not, I definitely could not have done this without phones, without accessible means to create video. So today is about how you guys can maximize the video that you create and turn it into long-lasting memories and make it video content that matters. Because in the same way that we all snap photos throughout the day, and I'm sure we have these camera albums full of photos and videos that we don't ever really revisit. So my hope is not to discourage you from making, but my hope is to create a framework and get you guys to create in a way that means that you've made things that you want to revisit forever. And I think video is the perfect format to do that in. I'm not going to talk about anything I've done professionally, because there's a very different constraint. There's different constraints you're using when you create like that. But something I want to focus on is things I've created in my personal capacity and moments that have really mattered to me as a result. Cool. I'm just going to check in on the chat and make sure everyone's okay before we fully dive into it. Perfect. Okay, we're going to carry on. Everybody's happy. I see one question in the Q&A. Keep them coming, and I will definitely answer them later. So, something I wanted to start on, and it's a bit cheeky, but often we get this reaction that our phones are limitations. People see stuff we make, and they feel as if there's a limitation to that because you only have your phone, right? But this is something we made. It was a personal project with a creator we love, and we shot it entirely on iPhone. Now, if your stuff doesn't look like this, that's not the bar. But I just want to show that this is all shot and can all be made on your phone. Like, this is the potential of that thing you have in your hands. And it doesn't need to be a documentary. It could be the day your kid takes his first steps, or just going to a concert. But I think video is all about storytelling, and that's something we have access to.
There exists a magical
I won't play the
land
full
of endless
video,
rock
and you're welcome to check this out. This is
the
actually the only
mountainscape
video on my
scattered with
YouTube
formidable
channel, because that's
formations,
reserved for my personal.
shaped since the beginning of time.
But this video was entirely shot on iPhone. Now, there's a lot of little things you can do to zhuzh things up, like a custom title, but the iPhone and your ability to create has a lot of potential. Now, not all of us are going to be able to create to this bar, and nor should we. This is an incredible amount of work, and to be honest, it was a complete nightmare to complete. It's definitely rewarding, but video editing and making videos, you always have to set a bar, and that's something I also want to interact with. So with that, I think let's have an overview of what we're going to cover today. So basic ideas is I'm going to walk you through some philosophical distinctions. Why do we make the video we make? What do we want to be using it for? What tools do you need when you're making this? Video is hard because there's infinite things you can do with it. And I think that asking yourself a set of defined questions before you start creating really helps you feel good about creating and makes it much easier to create. Then we're going to go through some video basics, how to shoot good video, how to edit that video all on your phone, make the video you shoot quality, make it consistent, and also create a library of footage that when you feel like editing it, when you go into that deep dive of I'm a video editor now, then you can take it as far as you want, because you've got this consistent quality footage. And that's something that's really important. You don't have to now decide I'm a video editor, but it helps to start shooting good video so that when you do make that decision in the future, you don't kick yourself and go, oh, I wish I shot it that way. I wish I had these memories. It's about having all of that stuff ready for when you want to go the next step. Then we're going to go look at tools to get you started, some apps that I love, some things that you need, some things that you don't need. What phone do you need? You don't need the latest phone. You just need your hands and a camera. And then I'm going to make you remember those video essays, unfortunately, and those high school essays. Video is just storytelling. And if you can remember that beginning, middle, and end structure of a high school essay, you can tell the best story and make the best video you've ever wanted to do. And then lastly, we're going to go over some advanced tips and tricks. So just some real deep things to dive in there. And those are for the tryhards, the people who are wanting to take it to the next level. And frankly, take it past things that I can offer in this format. Something that I won't cover is I'm going to touch on some things, but I think that the biggest thing is if you're wanting to go really deep into it, if you're wanting to take your video and edit video and make films about your experiences, this experience we're all living through now, what it's like to be at home with your family, there are advanced tutorials that you can do and engage with. And I encourage you, I will recommend some, but I encourage everyone to interact with them in their own time. I can't cater to everyone here in terms of your pace of learning and how advanced you want to go. So I'm also going to identify some resources that will really help to take your video creation as far as you want. Cool. So let's jump in. This is the most important step for me. This is the first thing I ever think about when I'm creating something, whether it's video or photos or writing. If you're designing something that's meant to be consumed, you need to ask, where's this thing going to live? Where will I post this? Where is this going to go? Because what that will determine is your rationale and your framework when you are creating. And this isn't as complicated as it sounds. Am I going to post this video on Facebook? Is this video an Instagram story? Is this video just for me and my family? Or am I going to turn these shots into a 15-minute after holiday movie of what we've been doing during this time or that time we went to Mpumalanga, right? And asking this question, it gives you intent when you're creating, and being sure and knowing where the stuff is going to go helps you create with confidence. And I think that's really important. So whether it's for an Insta story and you're on holiday, you want to capture a birthday, you're doing a trip, or you've just gone for a nice walk in the morning, think about where that stuff is going to live. In the same way, there's a lot of ways we can create, right? Video can capture incredible moments in a very short amount of time. And that essay that I spoke about, that doesn't have to be in multiple shots. That beginning, middle, and end, that can all happen in the space of 5 seconds. And that's why I really, really love video, because it can tell full stories in the shortest amount of time. Something that is on the other end of that spectrum, and something that I definitely encourage, this is accessible as well, and I'll let it play while I'm chatting, is we just did a little happy birthday video for a friend of mine that I attended his birthday party. He's an amazing guy. And all I wanted to do was grab my camera, encapsulate the night. And it's a very simple sequence of shots. It's videos, it's photos, they're transitions that you can do on your phone. And the only thing that was really fancy, and then I asked someone else to do, was the intro sequence where you see his name disappear behind the glass. And that's all video is. It's just these little sequences of very basic movements that combine to tell a story. So on that, I want to go into the building blocks of video, right? Like, what are the things that you need to have in place and know about when you're starting to create video? But I'm just going to check if there's any questions beforehand. Absolutely. So one thing I realize I haven't covered that much is vlogging, and I see that in the Q&A. And I will definitely cover that. Thank you, definitely. I'm going to keep that there, so I remember to answer that. So this is a lot of the questions are towards that, right? Are towards what are the basic building blocks. And video is, in the same way that I say it's an essay, it's language, right? There's very specific things that you do in video that combine to make a long video, right? And I think that going for these will help you create much cleaner videos, right? I think that's something we all suffer from, is there's something in the subject, in the panel, and we whip to it and we find the thing just for a second and the rest of the video is useless, right? And something that really helps with video is basic movements, right? Very simple, consistent movements where you keep your speed going, you keep your hands at a rate. And if you're worried about shaky video, moving your body, moving from side to side will actually help you stabilize your video a lot more than if you're just keeping it still, because your body is physically vibrating the camera when you try to keep it still. So if you do a movement, you're going to capture much smoother video, ironically. Now, these are all tilts, right? It's not really what they are, but tilts are really useful because they can help you intro you to a space, right? You can arrive in a space. So if you are just standing on top of a mountain, you can tilt up and reveal the view of where you are, right? If you're following an animal that you found in the harbor, you can pan up and go from that animal to showing where it is, right? And that video in itself told a story. There's this, I saw a seal, look at the seal, oh my gosh, the seal is at the waterfront, right? And that's it. That's a 15-second clip that has told an entire story. Exactly the same with this guy, right? Just showing you the view, right? And that's why tilts are so powerful. That's why video moves are so powerful, because without cutting, you can tell a story. You can go from I am standing here to I am here, or I see something here and it is here, right? And that's kind of the language you want to start buying into. This is a very good example of how an entire story can be told in just one video shot. No cuts, just a smooth sequence, right? Now, what that video does is it tells a whole story, right? We're in the ocean, and this is where we are. And there's some cyclists there. It speaks about a Sunday. It speaks about being with your friends on the beach. It's a whole narrative in one shot. And that's all done through one video. It's a drone shot, obviously. But I think that drone shots and phone video have a big overlap, where drone shots and cell phone shots are very similar, where you've got infinite possibility. A drone is something that can move 30 kilometers an hour across a field, and you can pan the camera and switch the camera as fast as you want. And it's the same thing that you can do with your cell phone, right? But just because you can do it doesn't mean you should, right? Drone shots and cell phone shots, they should all borrow from the same language, that is slow movements, basic movements, right? Now, I'm going to answer this question live. Is it better to take portrait video or landscape video for social media, right? And I think that's a really important question, and it harkens back to where will it live, right? And it's simple, right? Where are you going to post it? If it's an Instagram story or a Facebook story, you're going to post it vertically, right? You're going to post it, but you're going to take the video like this and it's going to be posted like this, right? Now, if you're posting for Facebook for consumption, you can also take it vertically. There's a lot of spaces that live with vertical video nowadays. And that's why a lot of the stuff that I capture personally is vertical, because I intend to post it on platforms that support that vertical video. But if we're talking about personal use, if we're talking about the equivalent of a family photo album, right? You should shoot it horizontally. And even though it's hard, even though you might have to double up, for now, that could change. But for now, video is consumed primarily in horizontal, right? And that's also because your TVs are horizontal, right? Your computer screens are horizontal. Netflix is horizontal. And this is the end stage of creating videos that are the equivalent of your family photo book, right? Now, let's check. Can you remove and replace sounds you don't want in a video? Absolutely. There are many apps that you can do that in, and I'm definitely going to cover those. But right now, I'm just ensuring that we get the basics right. There's a lot of people that want to dive into video editing, that want to make more with their video, that it will help you greatly if the things that you are building with are solid, right? If the things that you have captured and the way that you've captured your video in the first place is solid. And that is what determines the quality of your video. It's not just video editing. It's not video editing at all. It's the quality of the shots, right? And again, if it's just your kid taking their first steps, using basic movements and grabbing their feet and grabbing them walking towards you and grabbing a shot of the sky and what the weather was like that day, and grabbing a shot of your other kids' reactions and grabbing a shot of the clothes they were wearing, right? Those are very basic things that if you just do a simple movement, you can stitch into a much more powerful story later on. Cool. We're going to move forward. So again, same thing. We covered tilts, now we're going to do pans. So in the fact that tilts were able to show your position and reveal the view that you were looking at, pans help you kind of introduce an entire scenario, right? So you've got a bunch of pans. You've got the pan over here where it's behind the scenes and you reveal the behind the scenes people and what they're shooting, right? It's telling a story by itself. You've got another pan in the middle, which is just tracking a little alligator as it swims across the bayou, right? And that just tells the story of the alligator's journey, right? And then you've got a bit more of it's a tilt and it's a pan. It's a look at the flowers, look at this beautiful day, and look at my mom smelling the roses, right? And again, that's a whole story in there, right? You don't need to be diving into video editing apps. You don't need to be creating full sequences to tell a story. It's certainly the next step, but if you consciously think about creating smooth videos in one go, that'll help a lot. The last shot I kind of want to cover in terms of basic composition is the static shot. And I'm just going to let them all play while I'm chatting. I think a static shot, I think putting your camera down, putting your iPhone down and letting the world happen around it is probably the most powerful shot you can do, because what most of us are trying to do is we're just trying to communicate a moment. And removing yourself from that, removing movement, and just bringing that shot alive by letting that environment speak for itself is maybe the most powerful thing you can do. Whether it's packing your car because you're going on a trip, you're going camping, right? Whether it's showing how long it takes to get the perfect shot of a pelican. there's a lot of things that you can do, whether it's just an octopus moving past you in the aquarium, right? The world is happening and it's beautiful and it's the thing you're trying to capture. So let it do it itself, and it removes any error in your part. I make shaky video. I come home and I'm like, damn, that shot was messed up in the middle because I moved the camera or I changed the speed of my hand, right? But a static shot will help with that. And something that I want to touch on, just going back to tilts and pans, is a big thing is keep your movement speed consistent. If you're tracking something, find the subject and then track its speed, right? Or if you're finding something, go across it, don't stop here, just go across it and keep your speed. And that's when we start talking about like cinematic language. Something that your brain sees subconsciously is when you fast and then you slow down, right? You pan up and then you stop here, right? And you might not necessarily consciously see that, but your brain is like, there's a change in speed there. I'm a bit uncomfortable, right? And that's something that trimming will help with a lot. And we're going to get into trimming your video to making sure that those movements, those moments you find are just the perfect, smooth cinematic moments. I'm just going to check the Q&A. Guidance. Cool. You do not need a tripod for static, right? You absolutely do not need a tripod. And you also don't need a gimbal, right? Two things. You're never going to have a gimbal or a tripod on you all the time, right? Mini tripod, gimbal, these are excellent, excellent tools and will allow you to make things that you've never been able to make, right? And they will expand your storytelling ability, but you don't need them. And the reason why I say that is because you won't always have them on you. Thankfully, there's new gimbals. I have this guy almost on a daily basis, right? Because I have this guy almost on a daily basis. But if you master this movement, right? Using your body's momentum to keep your camera steady and just be moving still. Don't extend your arms too far. Keep them bent. Don't put it on your body, just in that little middle ground. And use that momentum to do that. You will get those shots that you feel as if you're missing because you don't have a gimbal, right? Let me just see. Cool. When you talk about static shots, are you talking about taking photographs while filming? No, when I talk about static shots, I just mean the camera is still somewhere. And every single one of these shots that you see in front of you, I've just propped my phone up, right? I normally, like, a big thing that helps is I'll grab a glass and I'll put a glass over here and rest the phone on the glass. With the aquarium shot, I'm actually just pressed up right against the glass, and there was a little shelf here, so I just rest the camera there. And with a static shot, the best static shots, not moving shots you're going to get, are the ones where your phone is stable and you've removed your hand from the equation, right? Because you are the shakiest part of this situation, and that's why movement's important. But if you can just prop your phone up somewhere, get it. Exactly the same thing with the sunset shot. That's just me putting it on a rail even, and just letting it go past. Cool. So we've done static shots, and then after you've finished with these basic things, you can get into doing whatever you want. There are no rules with video, right? But I think it's important to internalize those basic things to help build, to start understanding the language of video and making sure that the quality of the video that you're getting is amazing. Cool. Okay, yes. So super good question, right? A technical question is, should you have your flash on, right? Ideally, no. Ideally, it's difficult for video, right? But it depends on what you're trying to capture. If you need your flash to see what you're trying to capture, then turn your flash on. But basically leave it on auto. Your phone has a very good sense of knowing what it needs. But a flash it's a weird thing because it brings you into the scene, right? It's weird to think of yourself as being present, but a video camera should be invisible, right? And if you have a flash, it directly puts you in the scene. It directly puts you as an observer, as the thing that's capturing something. And then it's no longer that thing is happening, it's that you are like capturing it while it's happening. So it's a stylistic thing, but try not to use flash. Try to light things as well as you can. Cool. Last things I want to cover is there are no rules, right? So you can dive into incredibly complicated shots, right? You can do full vortex things just to have your friends cheersing, right? You could also, and this is definitely a personal thing, and know your iPhone, but your iPhone is the best holiday camera you have. If you're trying to capture a journey, if you're trying to capture a holiday, your iPhone can capture some extraordinary stuff. And if you've got an 11, if you've got an XS, your iPhones are IP rated. Know your IP rating. This is not a blanket endorsement. Know your phone before you do this. But a lot of phones, you can get some pretty good underwater shots. And that's not a blanket endorsement. Know your phone, but it's a really, really powerful tool. And it saved me when I don't have housing. I just use my phone to get those shots, right? So be insured, know your phone, know your phone's IP rating, and make sure that your phone's not damaged. If it's got a cracked screen or a cracked back, that will compromise your phone's waterproof ability. But really super secret life hack, know your phone's rating. And an IP rating is how waterproof and dust proof your phone is, right? And that's a very technical specification, and it's on the website. And I encourage you to read the breakdown, but it is your phone's ability to withstand splashes most of the time, or submersion for a certain amount of time. And that'll determine whether you can get a quick underwater shot or anything. Cool. Sometimes the rules don't matter, right? Sometimes you want to use multiple cameras just to show like your current context, right? You've told a story there. It's jerky, there's not smooth movements, but you've established that this is what's going on. You're walking, it's shaky, you're moving, but you just want to capture a beautiful view, right? Or your dog's meeting your friend's dog for the first time, and he's just running too fast to make sure it's smooth, right? But at the same time, I'm trying to keep him in the middle of the frame, right? So it helps a lot to knowing the rules. Then when you break them, you make better quality stuff. Any questions? Let's go. So there's a lot of questions on background noise. Cool. There's good questions on hectic zooms, on hectic movements. There's good questions on quality. So on the IP ratings, go to the Apple website and check the IP ratings on each of your devices. The 11 does have an IP rating, but look it up. Cool. I've answered that. Cool. So I'm going to move on to taking some of those shots, taking some of those shots I've described and making them perfect. And I'm going to switch to sharing my phone screen, right? So we know you guys can see me actually live edit some of those stuff and make it good. So let me just switch that. Now, cool. There we go. Something that is amazing that Apple has done recently is they have introduced video editing that is on par with photo editing in the photo app, right? You don't have to go anywhere. It is right there in the photo app. And that's something that's just amazing. You can make those good shots perfect, right? This is a static shot that I really like. And you'll see there's something that I was trying to capture in the moment. And it's the beautiful view, but it's also the movement of the boat going past, right? I'm handheld, but the narrative is the boat is going past. Now the issue is there that gets introduced too late. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to drag this arrow and drag it to just before the boat enters the frame, right? So that we have a baseline of what it looked like before. And then we have,
remember like a few
and
years
then we
ago.
have the boat going across, and that's it. That's the entire narrative. And you can cut it so that the boat just disappears out of frame, right? And now you've got a succinct video. You've got an entire narrative. You've got a Facebook story. You've got an Instagram story. You've got a Facebook post, an Instagram post that you can use later. Now, the great thing about this editing setup is that the way that these editing things are set out, it's in logical progression of what you should be worrying about. So the first thing you see is the length of the video, right? The next thing you have is adjustments. So you can click auto and it'll auto adjust the color. And if you don't like those adjustments, so for me, it's a bit bright now, and it's lost a lot of its contrast. It's sunset, it should be contrasty, there should be deep shadows. Then you can go through and change that, right? You can bring up the saturation a bit, and all of these apps that I'm going to share with you, they are all laid out in a way that is the way you should think about editing photos and editing video, right? Then after you've done those basic adjustments, you can choose a stylistic adjustment. And I think that's something that a lot of people get wrong, is that filters are a style choice, right? They're not empirical measurement of whether something is going to look good or not. They speak to what you're trying to communicate. In the same way that panning quickly or tilting quickly or panning smoothly or a static shot communicates your mood and communicates what you were trying to achieve when you were creating that video. So does a filter, right? So if I choose this guy, vivid warm, I would bring the power down a bit, but it communicates warm, summer, sunset, right? And if I were to choose drastic cool, then I might be trying to communicate this is a sad moment, this is a sad shot, which obviously doesn't work for this photo, right? So I'm going to go back to original, and then this actually blows my mind. The fact that you can live tilt and change the horizon, flip your videos, so you can flip it horizontal and vertical, and then also change the aspect ratio of your video. This is amazing. Like this takes longer to do on professional editing software than it does here. And it's amazing that I can shoot 4K video on my iPhone and just chop and change it like this. And what that enables me to do is also repackage the video that I've shot into something for different platforms, right? So if I want to post it on Instagram as a post, I can choose either 4:5, or I can choose square, or if I want to do it as a story, I can choose 16:9. And I can also make it a horizontal video to be posted on YouTube or another platform that encourages horizontal video, right? So that's what's built in. That's what you have the ability to do. And what I did there is I fixed the duration. Something like this, we were at the airport, we'd been flying for maybe like 36 hours. So all I want to do is I just want to straighten some lines. There's a lot of breaking lines There's a lot of off-angle lines in this shot, but for me, subconsciously, I felt as if the angle was wrong, so I just wanted to straighten it out. And that's something you can do in app. There's no other adjustments I wanted to make, right? Something like this guy, this is a shot that I was like, cool, I want to get this vortex effect, but obviously I don't want to get the effect of going into the vortex. I want to start with the movement and keep the movement smooth through the video. So I find a point where the movement is consistent, and then I choose to start the video there. And that's also something you want to have. It breaks the illusion if you go from still to moving, right? Or still to even moving. You want to either ramp up to movement or be moving at the same pace the entire time, right? And that's something that'll help your videos feel cinematic, right? And that's all, just a little tilt. And then what I want to do as well, I want to post this as an Instagram story. So I'm actually going to go to the beginning of the video so I can see what angle he's at the beginning and when the movement begins. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn it vertically so that now I can post it as an Insta story, right? And I'm going to save as a new video. And what it should do, saving, is give you something like that, right? Where now it's vertical format and you've changed the place that this lives. You've changed where it's going to go. But because you captured it consciously, because you captured good footage, you can move it and put it anyway. I'm just going to look at the Q&A. Storage limits, that's a very good idea. Hectic zooms. So let me answer this quickly. A lot of people, let me open my camera app. A lot of people, oh, that's going to, let's see how that does. A lot of people use this 2x zoom on their camera and they move pretty quickly between it, right? And that's pretty disorienting because I'm pointing it at the video. But you want to use smooth movements. You either want to be pinching as smoothly as you can, or you kind of just don't want to do that at all. To be honest, don't tap if you're doing video. Don't zoom. Yeah, shoot wider. Yeah, it's a hard thing, but do slow it down. My biggest advice to everyone would be slow it down. Slow down the zooms, slow down the movements, get rid of the zooms. If it's something far away, start zoomed and stay there, and just do a small pan as you go there. Cool. Can you change your frames per second in video? Let me answer that as well. Sorry, somebody is jumping in too late. So what you do when you're capturing is you choose your video mode, right? Your video is here, and right in the top corner, it'll tell you what your frame rate and stuff is, right? So right now, let me put my phone on airplane mode. There we go. Right now, I'm shooting 4K 24, right? I should be shooting 4K 25 because we're in the rest of the world. And if you want to capture slow-mo, you just go across to slow motion, and then that's your slow-mo. You can change these settings in camera settings. So you go to settings and you search camera. And then there's 4K, there's, let me just turn my Wi-Fi off as well. There's 4K 24, 4K 30, 4K 60. And you can choose all of those there. If you know why that matters, you know why that matters, but really it doesn't. Leave it 4K 24 if you can, right? You do compromise the quality of the image with an increased zoom, right? So that's a very good question. When you're here, our iPhones, a lot of them nowadays have 2 lenses, right? So there's a 1x and there's a 2x. And the 1x is generally better quality, but you're still capturing good quality at 2x. If you go past this to 2.4, 2.5, all you're doing is you're zooming in on a digital image. So don't do that, right? You can go 2 times, but really, if you go anywhere past this, all it is your camera is digitally cropping that image. It's not actually zooming in any further than it already does normally, right? You're just actively reducing the quality of your video, and you're making it harder to use your video later. Cool. Something on storage. Someone asked, some phones have storage limitations, and shooting 4K video, I'm going to switch back to my keynote presentation because I'm pretty happy with that. Some phones have storage limitations, and that's why organizing your footage will make a huge difference. So if you're consciously shooting your footage, you're going to shoot a lot less footage, right? Because you also have a way to sort through it. Not everything you shoot is good. And it's important to actively trim your videos down, delete stuff, get rid of it, right? So consciously shooting will help a lot with storage issues. Also creating folders on your phone for specific projects you're working on, and then also just taking that stuff off your phone. You can put that stuff on a folder in your computer and visit it later. You don't have to keep those 10 videos of the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. You may only need 1 to communicate the feeling that you had. And that's also something I want to touch upon. A lot of us, whenever I go to a concert, I see phones held up and people are recording the concert. Now, that's fine if you're recording the moment that hit you, right? But you're not going to have value to yourself later on by recording 10 of the same video. Instead of that, tell a story with those captures. Go in and capture as many different parts of the day as possible and turn that into a story. Now, something that I want to say is that most people only get this far. I only get as far as creating one good moment, right? Creating one good video. That doesn't mean that you have to stop there, and it also doesn't mean that you've failed, right? Focus on creating one perfect moment with one video, right, in a day. And that's something that you can revisit and hold on to, or post on Facebook or post on Instagram. But it's not as complicated as building a larger file sequence. So do that. I'm going to share a video for me that has more value than a lot of the stuff we've created. And it's just us getting our dog to howl along to wolves playing on a Bluetooth speaker. And it captured the day more than a long edit could. And it's simple, but yeah, it matters more to me than a lot of the stuff we built. I'm also going to share something that by following the basic rules of video, I was able to create something that I was really proud of, and build those sequences. Yeah, that it's the same thing, right? This is a longer sequence. I'm going to play it, and I'll mute the music so that I can chat over it. But we were working on a project in Montague on this church, which is now a museum, and there was a wedding there, and the wedding didn't have a videographer, and all I had was the gear I had with me, right? And by some simple movements and telling the story of people arriving, the groom arriving, the bride arriving, the ceremony, the end of them getting married, the triumph. It's beginning, middle, and end, right? With just some very basic camera movements, no gear. We were able to give them a wedding video that we didn't think we were going to capture. They didn't know we were going to capture. And it helps a lot. Now, this is a little bit of a PSA. There should only be one wedding videographer at any wedding, right? And it helps you interact with the space where if you're at a wedding, if you're at a space where there are professionals working, focus on capturing your one moment, because that's what will be revisited. That's something you'll be able to bring back, right? Because there will be somebody else capturing the full story. And yeah, you also do compromise professionals by everybody trying to capture the full wedding, right? So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Apps that I think you should definitely know about: Photos app, right? Use the video editing capabilities in the Photos app. You can trim, you can color edit, you can add filters. You can do almost anything you need to either create a single perfect clip or to create a longer sequence, right? Then what you also have for free on your phone is the iMovie app. Now this is about taking the next step, right? Taking those videos and adding text to them and creating what we call a timeline, right? A sequence of videos that go one after another. And the iMovie app is an amazing resource that is free and freaks me out based on how powerful it is every single time. And I encourage you to interact with it. And I'll go back, I'll interact with it a little bit. But also what I encourage with the iMovie app is find a tutorial, because it's very basic, but we all learn at a different pace, right? So with iMovie, I will demonstrate adding some clips together, but also this is a great tutorial that I watched last night: how to edit video on your iPhone with iMovie 2020 update. There's many like it, and it'll enable you to work through it along at home, and you can play and pause. You can DM me on Instagram if you have any questions about it, but definitely this is something that's a good resource to learn at your own pace, right? VSCO is an amazing app for photo, but also does very good color editing. If you're wanting to start grading your footage, if you're wanting to start giving your footage a distinct visual appearance, jump into VSCO. Over is also an amazing, it's a super powerful app. It's very simple to use, and it's also an amazing tool for businesses. If you want to tell a story through video or through photo, and you're a small business, or you just want to create some higher quality content, Over is something that I would fanatically get into. It's a bit complicated, but jump in there. InShot, if you're not liking iMovie, it's a great iMovie alternative. It's what I used by accident, and now I'm moving back more into iMovie. But InShot is an amazing way to just quickly create little snippet videos and up your quality just a bit more. And the thing that we forget is that these apps that we're posting to, Instagram, TikTok, a lot of them have these features built in already. Something I've missed is TikTok has timeline construction in it. You can stitch together different videos. Instagram lets you trim, it lets you color edit, it lets you add filters, it lets you add text, it lets you add music. Instagram stories is one of the most powerful video creation features that we have access to. And if you're shooting for Instagram stories, do the basic video thing, get your shots right, and then jump in there and learn all the secrets that stories have. You can embed music over your stories. You can put filters. You can tag your friends. So knowing about the place that your video is going will also let you know what tools you have at your disposal. Cool. I'm going to go back to what you'll need, right? Just basic. I would encourage you to screenshot this. This is a very good recipe for making a video, right? So you'll need a video concept. We went to the waterfront today. I went to watch a soccer match. It was my son's first day of school. It was my daughter's recital. There are these things that happen in our lives that we want to capture, but when we decide to capture them, we need to tell what story we're telling. And again, it can be as simple as one video, right? It can be as simple as a one-shot video, but you can have the school uniform folded on the bed, and you can pan to your son or your daughter, ready, not in their school uniform yet, and they look a bit nervous, right? And that's it. That's an entire story of a first day at school in one shot, right? Then you need to decide, and this is super important, who is the intended audience? Is it just for me? Am I creating this video just for me? Is it for my Facebook friends? Is it to send to my family? Or is it, as I'm making this video, as a business professionally, right? Because that'll determine what you share, the quality of the video, how many shots, what the complexity is, and also what you need to tell people, right? If the video is about your son's first day of school, but you intend to share it on YouTube for the rest of the world, they don't know that your son was really nervous when he was 3 years old and held onto your leg every day you dropped him off at kindergarten, right? So you might need to communicate different things to different audiences. And that's why knowing your audience is really important. Ask what they know, what they do know, and also, very important, and I feel as if this is missed a lot, people aren't in jail. They don't have to watch your content. They can watch any content in the world. There's so much content at the moment. So if your intended audience is the world, if your intended audience is larger than your family group, you have to immediately identify and place it at the beginning of your video. Why should people watch this? Why should my audience watch this? Because they don't have to. What's the story? Remember that high school essay, beginning, middle, and end. The problem, the difficulty, the solution, and triumph, right? He's nervous to go to school. I dressed up in a suit. So he also dressed up in his school uniform. And then we dropped him off at school because we realized we both have to go wear our own uniforms in life and go and interact with the world, right? That's a story in itself, and that's just made up of shots, right? But once you've decided on what the emotional moments of those sequences are, then that'll really help. Footage. You've got to have footage to make it. You can use old footage, you can use footage that you need to go capture anew, but organize it all together. Make a new album on your phone and throw everything you want to use in this project in that album. Having everything in one place is super, super helpful. It'll enable you to look at every resource you have at your disposal and actively go through that. And also what it'll do is it'll enable you to identify what's missing. You might not have a shot of the sky showing what the weather is, right? You might not have a shot of yourself trying to fix a tie, right? So organizing things enables you to know what you have and know what you still need. Video editing software, much simpler than it sounds. iMovie, you've got it on your phone. It's there for free. You can buy an app like InShot. It's free, but you can get some paid features. But yeah, what are you going to use to do this project? Then a deadline. Deadlines are as important as everything else. This will feel as if it can go on forever because video is such a weird amorphous thing. There's no objective good video. You have to decide on a time where done is done and I'm not going to improve it anymore, right? I'm not going to fix this thing anymore, because if you don't have a deadline, you can always go back and shoot more footage. You can always go back and change the song and do this. So you have to have a deadline because it's never going to be perfect. So just end it there. Some razzle dazzle, right? Razzle dazzle is things like a title, right? So you can generate that in iMovie, like, yeah, Amashe's first day, right? Some razzle dazzle is some music. You can ask your friend to record a song, or you can use one of the default songs. There's a lot of things that'll add to a video, and they're optional, but it just gives you that kick. When you see the video, you're like, oh, that's a great title sequence. I feel really good about that. Or some razzle dazzle, which some people, I would also argue, is not optional. If you want to go really deep into it, make sure that there's really rich sound. Make sure you not only have a song that this thing is going to play towards, but you also have sound effects. You have the sound of the school, you have the sound of birds, you have the sound of the day, you have the sound of giggling, right? Capture those sounds. You can do that all in iMovie. And that's something that'll really elevate your stuff. If you're an intermediate person, then you'll really change the quality of your stuff by thinking about that. I'm getting a comment. So people asked a lot about background noise. Background noise is super, super difficult. The real answer, the real like movie answer is that, yeah, you have to control your environment. Sound is really hard. These microphones have gotten much better, and these microphones are mostly directional, right? So what I would try to do, let's say you're recording in a restaurant, right? Put your subject, put whoever you're recording in a back corner of the restaurant, right? So put them there and face the camera that way, right? So that you're going to get some reflection sound off the wall. But the thing that you're mostly being hit with is their vocals, is their voice, right? That's why voiceover is so powerful. If you're in a public space, if you can record voiceover, you can record voiceover in iMovie. Do it later, do it afterwards. But yeah, it's something that we really, really struggle with. And even if it's just the sound of a runner, we've put that in afterwards. So the iPhone, the iMovie app has a lot of inbuilt free sounds. They've got free songs, and then you can also import stuff. But there's an ability to voice record, and almost everything we've ever done, we then like voice record an S effect afterwards, right? Now, what you can also do is that in that iMovie, while you're recording that, you can record a voiceover, right? You can tell the story of your movie. And you can also do that while you're shooting the video as well. So even while you're tilting, you can go like, look at this view. I can't believe we're here. It took us 36 hours. And you can live record that commentary. And that's what Instagram stories are, right? We all know that we're providing direct commentary through speech, right? And that's why video is such a cheat. It is the most powerful tool, because I can show you something and I can tell you something and I can let you hear something at the same time, right? And yeah, it's super unfair that, yeah, we just have that tool to play with. It's something that I love being able to mix and play with. But learning that movement, learning that basic movement, and then applying narration over it, that's what makes a good shot. But when you're thinking about all of the things at once, it's pretty hard to get the shots, right? And get shots that last for a long time. Number 9 is self-reflection. Look, something I really encourage is show it to someone who has no idea like what this is, right? Has no idea, and they should be part of your intended audience, but do they get it? Does it make sense, right? Because in the same way, you're writing an essay. It has to be legible. It has to make sense, right? So get some help and do some self-reflection. Almost every single video I've edited could almost be cut in half. It didn't deserve the length that I had given it initially, and it really helped me later. And yeah, it also means that only the good shots stay. Just cut it in half, cut it down, get rid of the fat. Like, you're gonna put in a lot of extra stuff in there. Then at number 10, based on your self-reflections, you might need to start again from any single step. That's not always the case. And if, like, remember your deadline, keep that deadline, but it's not a catastrophe. You can get filler stuff. You can get other stuff. If your story's not working, if you've written yourself a voiceover script, rewrite it. It'll work. It'll work with the new footage. But the most important things is, if you've gotten this far, publish it, get it out there, post it, send it to your family, put it on the TV, watch it on your TV. Like, yeah, just let yourself like live in this thing that you've created, because yeah, video is the thing we interact with the most, and it's accessible to you. So if you watch Netflix on your TV, put it on your TV. Put it in the place that you would want to see it, and it'll give you this amazing feeling. And yeah, last thing, like, give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a round of applause. I have only ever finished a handful of projects that I ever wanted to start. And yeah, video is this long journey that you can take. But if you've finished that, if you've done it, yeah, you've done an amazing job. iMovie tutorials. So I will jump, I'm going to leave iMovie right for the end for those who want to stay and interact with some stuff. But yeah, find a tutorial, find someone you like, because you're going to be irritated because you're learning stuff. So find someone you like being spoken to from, and then yeah, learn at your own pace. Apps, what we went through, basic things. Who are you making stuff for, right? That's where is this going to live? That'll determine vertical, that'll determine how you shoot it, right? That'll determine a lot of things. So remember those philosophical things. Where is this going? Who is this for? What tools do I have, right? That kind of thing. Then video capture basics. If I could impart, if anything is the most important thing, it's these, right? Because we see such amazing things, especially in our country, every day. And if every viral video I saw was just a smooth pan or just a static shot, it would just make me immensely happy, right? And it would mean that content, the thing that's being told is the story. Don't let that get in the way of telling the story. But yeah, I think let's just level out like video quality. Tools to get you started. You have them on your phone, you have them in the app that you're posting. There are some amazing tools. If you want to go all in, grab a gimbal. If you've been doing this for a while, if you're wanting to start capturing more exciting things like running, like sports things, like going on a hike, grab a gimbal, take it to the next level. Grab a tripod, grab a little phone mount to put your phone on the tripod. But you have most of the tools. Yeah, you have the phone, you have the free apps. They want you to create, they want you to be making stuff. Remember those essays. What story are you telling? What should I learn from this when I watch your video? And am I going to learn that message when I watch your video? And then take it as far as you want. Take it as far as you want. Learn over. Learn iMovie. Learn VS Code. Learn those platforms and go as far as you want and interact with those things. Because when it's your own content, when you're learning to make a title sequence for your own holiday film, that's when you care. And that's when you can see the direct value of learning those things. Before I leave you, I would say, please send me what you've made. Send me what you're making. Send me what you want to make. I will definitely share my favorite ones on Instagram. I'll share them on my stories. I'll have more Q&A questions. Like, I encourage you to do that. I'm going to definitely address the Q&A questions that are in the chat right now. So if you have, just go in there, post them. But yeah, just keep in touch, share with your friends. A lot of us are creating for social. And there's pitfalls to that. It's a crowded area. So yeah, let's work on it all together. One thing, comment. Yes, so we're going to cover all the Q&A questions now. But yeah, for those of you who've made it this far, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. Yeah, and let's just jump straight into those questions. So, storage limitations, we've covered that. It's really hard, but curate your stuff. Actively curate your stuff. You don't need everything that's on your phone. It's not all gold. Delete some stuff, delete liberally, but then also just take it off, put it on a hard drive, buy a hard drive that just write phone memories, right? And you can revisit that later, but actively go through that stuff. And having a framework of why am I shooting this? What is this going to be used for? That'll help you clear up some storage. Cool. Give some guidance on camera positioning on your body when the camera is facing you. So if it is like a static camera, right? If you're doing what I'm doing now, the best convention is just your head centered. It can be just above the middle line. And when recording video of yourself, the biggest tip that I can give you is never record from underneath, right? None of us really see the world and see people from that angle. So try be as front on as possible, and also try be personable. Try make sure you can see your full facial expressions. The thing we see when we chat to people, the thing we see most of the time is this, right? So from the chest upwards, and try frame yourself like that. I think we're all learning to live our best Zoom lives, and I think that these are good tips and tricks for Instagram stories as well. And what this will also enable you to do is it can anchor you in the context, right? It's not just about you. I don't actually need to see you that much. It's the environment. And if you're shooting an Insta story, it's where I am. This is the space I'm living in. With Insta stories especially, I think something that people miss is that you are in the world. Like, you might show me where you are. Like, tell me something about the space visually, because you might be telling me about an exciting day at the beach, but like, show me the beach though, and show me that you're at the beach. Can you remove and replace sounds when you want in video? So that's definitely possible in Shot and in iMovie. Those are excellent resources to do that. The like extra ruffles and stuff, if you've got a noisy restaurant environment, real pro tip, just scrap your audio if you can't really hear things, and break it down into a sample of a restaurant sound. You can pull those off YouTube, or you can, there might even be an app, and then record some voiceover on top of that. So separate the two things. And you can also just get the restaurant sound on the day and then do voiceover afterwards, or you could hopefully get some good voiceover and then not pick up the restaurant. How do I eliminate background noise when in recording snippets of musicians playing in a restaurant? Okay, so that's a music thing. What I would say to this, and this is something that I've learned the hard way, is hardwire yourself into the musician's PA system, right? So whichever their system they are using to record, to broadcast their audio, see if you can give someone a flash stick or directly plug your phone into that ecosystem and record that music. That's the only way you're going to get like sound perfect stuff. We help record these live shows, and it would be impossible for us to get the speaker's audio. So what we do is we take from the PA system and we give them a flash, but you could also plug your phone in. That's a really difficult one. Yeah. Anonymous attendees. So I don't know if you're still here to answer that, but that's a real difficult question. Is there an app that I can use to merge my pictures and drone pictures together to make a minute video? iMovie and InShot are your best bets. You can also do that in Instagram as well. I'm reasonably sure. I was playing around a bit today, but I started seeing the beginnings of like sequence stuff. But iMovie and InShot, absolute best bets. Stay away from hectic zooms. Yeah, stay away from those hectic zooms. Format quality shot on iPhone. So if you can get away with it, shoot in 4K. If your iPhone allows it, or shoot at the highest like resolution quality, and then I would stick to about 24 frames a second or 25 if possible. If you go up to 60, you start losing video quality, and you're very seldom going to use that. If you need 60, you know why you need 60, and then you can, obviously. But yeah, like, you need to know why you need to be shooting 60. 60 is not like a blanket thing for everyone. How do I get better light for a video without a flash? Really struggling with lighting on iPhone, especially late evening, nice shots and videos. Yeah, you've got to. The iPhone is a directional light, so if the thing is not in range of the flash, it's not going to help. So you have to light the environment. And for video, keeping movement to a minimum will help hide the fact that it's nighttime, because you get a lot of motion blur, you get a lot of noise generation when you have those drastic movements. But to be honest, there's, yeah, professional cameras struggle. If you've ever seen behind the scenes on a film set, the main thing is lights, right? And that's not a quick solve, unfortunately. So try light your environment. Try, don't put yourself in that position. There's very few things that need to be captured that you can't just light yourself. Does the 11 have a good IP rating? It does have an IP rating. That shot that I showed you was on an iPhone 11, but again, know your IP rating. Go check it out. It's not a blanket endorsement. Don't call me if you break your phone, but also be a bit bold, but know what you're doing. Using a DSLR camera app, is that okay? So what I imagine that means is that, so there's also something I didn't touch on at all, is if you're really serious about this, there are some alternate camera apps, right? So there are apps that allow you to record video on your phone, but you have a lot more control. But if you know why you need that, it's a bit hard to get into that, but yeah, you should know. If you're using a DSLR app that's importing photos and videos from your camera, you can also do this with your drone. You can just directly import from your drone or your DSLR over wireless. That's great. Bring that footage in, put it all in those folders. Yeah, have everything you want to be playing with in one place. So I use, what apps or programs do I use for editing? On PC, we use everything. Primarily, we use Final Cut because we work with a lot of big footage, and we work remotely. So I just need to be able to edit on my laptop and just get it done very quickly. But on my phone, I use InShot, and I use the default camera app, really, like that. Those are the apps that I use. How do you remove sound while filming? Yeah, I've answered that. It's difficult. Rule around taking landscapes versus portrait, preference, and ease of editing in video. So landscapes are easy because all you have to do is show the landscape. So slow pan as wide as you can, don't zoom in. Slow pan, show the landscape, show some context. So something I like doing is I come from behind a bush, or I have a person and I come from behind them. And then that really shows the scale of, the thing that you're shooting. Let's see. Portrait stuff. Portrait, that's hard. Don't move too fast when there's people. Yeah, really find your person, track your person. People is a whole other thing. You can do whatever you want, but be careful because they're moving. So you don't want to be cross interacting too much. Best underwater cover you should have. There's a lot, but I read Otterbox is amazing, and I think they're called Uncase or something, but Otterbox is great. But the iStore has amazing waterproof housings. Yeah, so go check those out. And those are for if you want confidence in putting your phone underwater, or you want to be shooting prolonged. And those cases also have IP ratings, so they're not infallible. So yeah, go into your nearest iStore when you can. or order online, just obviously make sure it's for the right phone and read the instructions. Any tutorials be posted? Will any tutorials be posted later if we miss them? I will wait for the chat to respond. I'm not sure if we post an archived version of this, but if you have any questions, please, 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 please feel free to reach out. Like, absolutely. Cool. Which other iPhone models video editing is, sorry. So the nice thing is that all of the software stuff, all of the video editing stuff I showed you, is just software based. So that if you've got that, if your phone is able to run the latest version of iOS, you have access to everything I showed you. It's not a camera, it's not a phone thing. We're all interacting with a pretty flat playing field. There's definitely benefits to the new iPhones. They have like the best cameras I've seen in a very long time. But yeah, if in terms of processing that stuff, your phone might take a bit longer. You might have to be a bit more patient while you're doing it. But if you're running the latest iOS, you can do that. How do you type an intro for all your videos? How do you attach it to your video for educational? So you can generate titles in iMovie and in InShot, and you can choose how long those titles stay above your video. Yeah, so you can put text above that, and that's also something that's really powerful for vloggers. Is in iMovie you can create a template for your vlogs, right? You can create a template for, like, you've done one edit, and later when you shoot it, you can just slot the new day's footage in there, and you've retained your title card, you've retained everything you need to. So for educational videos as well, it's definitely about having that consistency. So over, amazing for putting text over video. You can do it in iMovie and in InShot. Yeah. Can you tell us about adding audio? That's in iMovie. I feel as if I've covered that. Frames per second, 24 most of the time. Was the climbing video shot on a gimbal? Very stable. So I'm going to go back to that guy. Because yeah, I think that's definitely a fair question. So hold on. The climbing video was shot, some of it was shot on a gimbal, and then a lot of it was shot handheld. And the real benefit of that is that when you're climbing, you use your body's stability to make your footage smooth. So this shot was shot on a slider because it's a time lapse.
There exists a magical land
and
of
then
endless rock.
The gimbals that we brought just kind of stopped working. So that's on a gimbal. This is not. This is handheld. And then this is on a slider, and then this is actually handheld. Yeah. So you'd be surprised what you're able to achieve with just handheld video. And it's just about getting those smooth actions. Static shots, so powerful, so powerful. Yeah, just let your subject move in it. Okay, let's see. Done. Do you recommend shooting on the ultra wide? No. So I would say use the ultra wide when it's needed. Use the ultra wide for landscapes and stuff. But the best quality video and the most natural profile, the most natural thing we're used to seeing is the middle range on these phones. So what everybody has should be your primary video shooting camera, and then you can use wide to provide an effect, to provide accents. But our eyes are a specific focal length, and we're used to seeing things at a certain spectrum. So if you want people to subconsciously connect with your video, you shouldn't overuse wide angle shots. Is 4K better than HD? It is, but it depends where you want to put it. Like if you're putting it on Facebook, doesn't matter. If you're putting it on YouTube later, or you want to keep it for a long time, kind of matters. Yeah. How does one trim the middle part of an existing video? Okay, that is a very good question. You've got to cut it into two. Like you've got to separate those two videos into, and when you save on the Photos app, it gives you the option to save video or save as new video. So you can't like cut something out in the middle and then like directly combine it. You can do that in iMovie, but the first thing you'll need to do is separate those two shots out. Recommend gimbal. Yeah, I think you know where you are in your journey. If you can't do these shots, or you don't know why these shots are important, then it might be a bit early to jump onto a gimbal. But yeah, gimbals are really incredible tools. And once you've practiced these basics, if you have a gimbal, practice these basics beforehand, because what gimbals allow us to do is they allow us to move too quickly. They allow us to remove ourselves from this normal action of turning our head and rising. And you can get some amazing shots. You can run after people and get amazing shots. But yeah, don't overuse gimbals. And if you do use them, practice, ground yourself when you're using them. Is it possible to merge two videos taken at a concert? Absolutely, in iMovie or InShot. How do you tell a story in one video? Covered that. Just tell me a story. You can show me a thing, but show me why that thing matters. Show me that there's a rainbow and on one side of the sky and it's raining on the other side of the sky. That is a story. And I think we're winding down now, because we are exactly 150% into this Q&A. So let me just see if there's anything else. You can put like let me go right to the bottom because you guys are still here. I'm in the education sector. How does one shoot high quality video, i.e. in 4K, let's still make it accessible? So in terms of data usage, so you'll have to change your export settings. So especially if you're in the education sector, I would actually say shoot it in 4K for yourself, and then learn how to compress it, right? Because what you can do is like things like WhatsApp and stuff, they've got automatic compression. So if your video is short enough to send over WhatsApp, WhatsApp will determine how big that video is. You don't need to worry too much about like compressing it yourself, depending on your medium, right? If you're emailing it, that's different. If you're putting it on online file service, that's different. But yeah, how you distribute it should determine how it's compressed. And like if you put it on YouTube, YouTube will compress that for you. There's nothing you can do. How do you, would I need to have an app to compile it in one video, right? So definitely, I would say that, yeah, use iMovie. iMovie is an amazing resource. Use iMovie to start stitching things together, right? And what I spoke about there's a rainbow over there, it's raining over there, and like, yeah, I'm gonna go for a swim. Those that can all be compiled of 3 different shots, and then just put it in sequence. But that you do on iMovie. Yeah. Yeah. I'm weary because I didn't jump too much into iMovie, but it's a very succinct program, and I encourage you to learn it in your own time at home. At the end of this, I'll put together a quick sequence for you guys. Let me just see if there's any more pressing questions. One video. So stabilization is not something I've actually been able to crack on phones. And that's why I encourage shooting first. I could be wrong. I haven't found that it's in iMovie, but it is a very, very intensive thing to do. So that's why I think the basics are important. Don't put yourself in the position of having shaky video. I could be wrong. Please actually send me a DM on Instagram, and then I will answer the phone stabilization question, because it's something I want to know as well. I am not on TikTok. No, that's a quick. Yeah, it's because I'm bad at like making stuff for myself. We make a lot of stuff for really nice companies that I enjoy making stuff. MacBook Air, you can use iMovie on the MacBook Air and it's amazing. Don't even worry about it. Yeah. Do you have advice on doing a time lapse? Time lapses are really important tools that help. So time lapses are really important tools because they're kind of like punctuation. So they help connect ideas in a video, right? So you can have a time lapse that shows the breadth of time, right? So how much time has passed in between these two things happening. So it can be me waking up, making some coffee, and then you show a time lapse of a city, and then you show me at the office, right? And it communicates movement, it communicates the passage of time. So I would, that's what time lapses are used for. But advice on shooting a time lapse, the most important thing when shooting a time lapse, something must change in that video. You cannot just shoot a time lapse of a cloudless sky and then play that, right? Because that communicates nothing. There were no clouds there, so I didn't see time move, right? So I need something to communicate to me that you've sped up this movement, that things have happened, right? And that's the number one thing with time lapses. So what I like to do is if I'm going to leave it still, I try find something that's like static, that's a good subject. So I'll put like a flower in one of the thirds, and then you'll just see clouds moving past, right? Or you'll see waves washing in and people rushing around. But yeah, communicate things that move. Definitely. My favorite video, my YouTube video stuff, my favorite stuff. There's kind of three people, right? So there's an old series called Every Frame a Painting that is absolutely amazing. And it's come to an end now, but they just pull apart everything, right? They pull apart film, they pull apart why these shots mattered. And film is really weird because it's like the most accessible art form. It's like music. We all interact with it, but very few of us like take time to think about why does this thing matter, right? Like why is it making me feel this way? So I find that breaking down film and like these huge popular things is the most useful thing to like thinking about video for me, instead of like interacting with like a vlogger or like a person who does content for a living, because they're in when you're making content for a living, when you're doing that stuff, it in its construction, it's designed to be openly accessible, right? So you never go, oh, I felt that thing and now I understand that thing. So definitely Every Frame a Painting, amazing. Cinefix, there's this Cine, so CINE and then FIX, is an amazing channel on YouTube. They've got a mixed bag of series, but focus on their shot stuff. Like they'll explain why a wide angle shot matters and the best wide angle shots of all time, right? And it'll tell you what you should be feeling when you see those shots. And then you can determine, you can use those tools to make your viewers feel the same thing, or you can work out why it's not working, right? If you want to feel sad, if you want to feel a lot of emotions, if you want to feel connected to this person, they shouldn't be in the middle of an empty room with the wide shot. And channels like that will help. And then, yeah, Nerd Writer forever. He covers so many things, but whenever he covers film, yeah, it makes me feel great. I don't do YouTube videos. I definitely would like to more. And obviously this time is making us realize that we should be more self-sufficient and making more stuff. But we're just really busy. up until this point. You can add clouds to your photos. You definitely can. Let me look at the specific app. There's an app called LD. I think it stands for lens distortions. And they've got, it's just called LD, and it's just a black, it's kind of just a black icon. Ooh, right, like that. And they've got a bunch of templates for like adding smoke, adding light flares, adding clouds to your photos specifically. They don't have video, but you have to, that's quite a powerful thing. But yeah, adding photos to that, that's good. Some advanced questions. What are your thoughts on using an external Bluetooth lapel mic? We've got the Rode Wireless Go's, and they work amazingly. Like yeah, it's like the best thing to have happened in a while. The thing that I will say with that is you have to be able to monitor your audio while you're using them, because you could have connectivity issues, and unless you're monitoring it, you won't know if your audio is good until you're gone. So you have to, if you're using a Bluetooth lapel mic, you have to be monitoring your audio. But they're amazing. They're blowing my mind. Cool. Vlogging, vlogging, just, yeah, vlogging is adopt a visual language, right? Like stick to the rules and you'll make good videos. Vlogging, more than anything, the camera doesn't matter at all. The camera doesn't matter in the slightest. Write a story, write out what the plan is, because the biggest thing, the best vlogs I've ever watched, there's this guy called Tom Scott, and he does kind of vlogs, but when he does a video, he communicates to you exactly what he wants to communicate. So there's a Tom Scott video on toasters, right? And in a vlog format, he will communicate an idea to you, and it's done, it's there, it's perfect, right? And it's an essay. And I worry that even if you're vlogging, when you're telling me just about your day-to-day life, I need to know what is the central thesis in this. And if the thesis is like, I'm following your life, that's fine, but it should have structure to it as well. So if you're vlogging, write it down. Stick to the narrative rules more than anything else, and you'll make compelling vlogs. Because then also what you do is you create these videos that live by themselves, right? You create a video, you might vlog every day, but if you've told a story every day, that's something that somebody can just jump in on, and they don't have to have been following you for a very long time to understand, right? I always think of like this ring of content, right? Where you have like previous buy-in, immediate buy-in, and then like visual buy-in, right? And what I mean by that is like, why are people watching a thing, right? Is it because they know you and follow your stuff, right? Like that's where we are with Avengers movies, like we'll watch anything. And then you've got like immediate buy-in. So this thing is good, it's good by itself. I can jump in and I can share it. And then you've got like visual buy-in, where this thing is just like more technical buy-in, where it's like, it's beautiful, it sounds amazing. That's like, I don't care what it's trying to tell me, I'm just being blown away, right? And you have to decide where you are in that spectrum when you're creating. Most of us need to interact here, immediate buy-in, or probably in between like immediate buy-in and technical buy-in, right? Where it's just technically, this is an amazing shot from the top of Table Mountain, or immediate buy-in is like a viral video, right? Like this kid can do like 6 backflips at once, right? That's immediate buy-in. And the hardest thing to achieve is that long-term buy-in. And that's something that I worry about with vlogging, where once you achieve that long-term buy-in, you kind of let go of these things, and that will rob you of getting a new audience, because you're not pulling people, you're not bringing new people in. The only people who can interact with your content are people who've been here for a while. Using your iPhone, just slow it down, compose your shots, think about it. Yeah, that's for vlogging. The time-lapse one we've answered. So Tegan asks, can you create live photos using, can you turn live photos into video? No, you can turn live photos into GIFs, and that's what I do a lot. There's a lot of apps that do that. Just give it a goose. But yeah, you cannot turn live. Actually, no, I'm lying. You can turn live photos into video. Sorry, but you need an external app. So just download a free app from the App Store. Is there any transition between scene to scene? That is a really important question, in the fact that when you're building transitions, when you're building scenes, a really easy thing to do is go from one pan and then cut to another pan, right? And that gives you a sense of continuity. But there are an infinite number of transitions, right? We can go from here, cover the camera, and then we're somewhere else, right? Transitions are really important. And if you've planned out your shot, planning out what you're shooting is also like your transitions are as important as the shots. So once you've planned your shot out, you will know what shot comes after another shot, right? And then you can plan your transitions, and that'll make it easier. Cool. I've recorded my sermons for Facebook, YouTube. It's daunting editing, getting inside my own head on some stuff. Oh my gosh, perfect words. Now I'm pressed for time and I need to remember my main audience is my congregation. This is such a good question. Don't second guess yourself. If you know your audience, if you've like especially a sermon, right? Like if you've recorded yourself giving a sermon, just make sure that that's technically correct. Like make sure that the horizon's right. Make sure that there's like an intro title. Make sure that there's some good, like if you want to add some music some places, do it. If you want to add some contextual images, do it. But really at the core of it, if you've given the sermon, just present the sermon. Like don't second guess yourself on that. Because you've already bought into like a way to present this, right? So like, yeah, it's hard, but yeah, don't worry too much about changing the format of it. If your sermon is like 40 minutes long and you're wanting to convey 5 minutes from that sermon, cut that out and take it out. You don't need to post the whole thing, but what you're talking about being worried about is performance, right? And don't worry, you've done it. You've done a good job. Like performance is especially in that thing, it's not something you should second guess. Like now focus on what you want to communicate. So I would be taking little nibbits out of there. So if it's a 40-minute sermon, choose 1 minute you want to post on Instagram, kind of thing, you know? Any free Photoshop apps? Yeah, Snapseed. Snapseed's amazing. Yeah, Snapseed's just the best. If you want to go like hard, I'm changing things in this photo. Making a video out of photos and video clips, would you be able to you do that in iMovie? Definitely. Yeah, like that's, you can, in iMovie and InShot, as long as you've chosen to make a video, you can just use photo and video. It doesn't really matter. Tripods, do you need it? Like I use a big thing that I use. I'm not even joking. I use my shoe because it's soft and you can like prop it up on a surface. And then also you can place your phone vertically in a shoe, either way. And then you can also prop it up like this. So just like get actively into using stuff. Use a scarf. Scarves are amazing because you can like push your phone into it. Just obviously make sure that the camera's not covered. Check the like what you're seeing, but it's a thing that you can prop things up against. Yeah. No, absolute pleasure. Very, very happy to help. How do I make a slideshow of videos and stills in my album? So put everything in an album. And then depending on how you're presenting it, yeah, just if you want to make a slideshow, you can either do it in iMovie. They've got like a good template for that. But the most important thing is get everything you want to put in that slideshow in one place. And then if you're airplaying to like a TV or something, then you can just click through that slideshow. Send me a DM on that. Yeah, I'm happy to walk through that. Gimbal, would you recommend? Covered that. Okay, guys, I've covered a lot of stuff. Yeah, yeah, if there are any more questions, get them in quickly, and then I think I'm going to sign off. Yeah, but thank you so much for attending. Yeah, this was really fun, and I'm keen to do it again. And give me some feedback on Instagram and what I covered, what I didn't cover. Yeah, I would rather speak like about my experience than teach you how to use a specific app, because when you learn the fundamentals, it can be translated to everything. And it's things that I've learned that I carry with me, like across. And apps will change, apps will get better. Yeah. So that's it. Cool. Further question from Peter regarding preaching for Instagram and Facebook. The difficulty lies with cutting the sermon to accommodate the platforms it will be shared on. Cool. So this one is important. All of those platforms have limits, and all of those platforms have like viewing preferences, right? So people like to view a certain length of content given the platform that they're on. So to be completely honest, with a long sermon like that, everything should funnel to YouTube. You should have your full-length sermon living on YouTube, and you should design like pillars or like trailers basically for each platform with the idea of funneling people to YouTube. So cut like just take 1 minute out, post it as an Instagram video, take 15 seconds out, post it as an Instagram story, right? Take 3 minutes out, post it as a video or an IGTV. But for the full-length sermon, it should all be designed to funneling people to the YouTube channel, and you can put that on the video, like make a title card and say, for the full length, go to this YouTube channel, or on the platforms that allow you to do that, post a link, like associate a link with that. Yeah, it'll help a lot. Yeah, YouTube is like, it's the end of like where content lives, really, and trying to force other platforms to host longer content, it's not going to work, because people don't have the culture of watching a 40-minute video on Instagram. They can't watch a 40-minute video on Instagram. So you have to play to the format. You have to design something that is going to capture their imaginations on the thing that they're on, that will help them get to the eventual place where you've had it live. But don't try force people to change their viewing behaviors. Yeah, it's not like that's not. Yeah, it's just it's a good lesson to learn early. Cool. That is it. How do I crop a portion from the middle of the video? So you can either go in on each end, or you can split them into two. So with the trimming that I showed you, you can pull in from the front and from the back. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to sign off. I'm not sure how these things end. I think we go to this guy. There we go. And yeah, pay attention to the iStore's channels for the next iStore meets. Yeah, there's some really amazing creators, and hopefully we can build more advanced conversations as we move forward here. Thank you. Please message me on Instagram, because I have no idea how this went. So I would very much like to hear your feedback, what you enjoyed, what you didn't. Yeah, much appreciated.